Thank you for joining us. I'm Megan Cornell, and I'm part of the Advocacy Committee of the Ottawa Board of Trade. And we're joined here with Mark Sutcliffe, who's running to be Mayor of Ottawa. The Ottawa Board of Trade has been working over the last few months after we consulted with our business community and asked the community, what are your priorities for the next City Council for Ottawa? And out of that consultation came our Build Up Ottawa platform, which really focuses on 5 priorities. What we've asked Mark to do today is come and talk to us about those priorities. But we've got 12 questions we're going to be working through. So Mark has got a lot of work ahead of him to give us his position on these questions. And Mark, I'd love it if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what brings you here to run for mayor.
Thank you, Megan. It's great to see you and great to be with my fellow members of the Ottawa Board of Trade. I'll tell you a little bit about my career in Ottawa. I was born in Ottawa. I've lived my whole life here, and I've had a career, as many people will know, as a broadcaster and columnist and as an entrepreneur. So I was one of the founders of the Ottawa Business Journal. I've been involved in 5 or 6 other businesses in Ottawa over the years. I've been a board member of the Board of Trade. I was the chair of the Board of Trade, so I'm now a lifetime member as a result of that. I was a board member of Invest Ottawa and Algonquin College, United Way Ottawa, and many other organizations in our community. So I've always been in leadership roles in our community, trying to make our city better. I've been very involved in economic development. I've been a small business owner myself. And more recently, I've turned my attention towards mentoring and supporting young entrepreneurs of all ages, really. But I've been a coach and mentor to about 50 different entrepreneurs. I've been an advisor to dozens of others. So I've always done everything I can to support the local economy and support economic development in Ottawa. I've worked closely with organizations like Invest Ottawa, Ottawa Tourism, and others to make our city better and stronger. And I'm running for mayor because I want to make Ottawa better. And a big part of what will make Ottawa better in the future is a stronger economy. We're facing a lot of challenges, which we're going to talk about today, Megan. But I want to build a stronger economy so that we have the resources that we need as a community to invest in our priorities, like better infrastructure and keeping taxes low and helping the most vulnerable in our community. So that's why I'm running for mayor.
Wonderful. That leads us right into our first question for you, which really is at a very high level. Ottawa is the capital city of a G7 country and needs investments to ensure long-term and sustainable growth. So how would you ensure that Ottawa can attract the investment and the talent we need to grow Ottawa to be a world-class city?
This is a really important question, Megan, and there isn't an easy answer to this. There's a lot of things that we have to do, but I think the first thing we have to do is to recognize that now more than ever, and in particular because of the pandemic, people can live in one city and work in another, and that's a really new development on such a broad scale that people can actually choose to live in a different city from where they work, and those two things are not inextricably tied to each other anymore. So because of that, we need to be a lot more competitive when it comes to talent and when it comes to being a great place to live, work, and play. So we need to be really mindful of that and invest in Ottawa and make Ottawa an even better place to live for people. So there are a bunch of things that go into that, creating better quality of life, having more attractions in Ottawa, more things to do, making sure we have great public transit, keeping taxes as low as possible, fixing our roads and our transportation system, building more homes, getting everybody working together. I've talked about having a talent summit very soon after, if I'm successful in being elected mayor, bringing together the Board of Trade, the Regroupement des gens d'affaires, the Ottawa Tourism leaders, and Invest Ottawa, and colleges and universities, and really enhance Ottawa's efforts to be a destination for top talent. We need to do things like revitalize downtown and the Byward Market, have a really strong economic development plan, which is in my platform and which we'll talk about later. We need to look at things like the Civic Hospital campus, the new Civic Hospital campus, because we need world-class healthcare if we're going to attract the best and brightest people to our community. We need Lansdowne Park, and we need LeBreton Flats. And so we need to have a city that people want to live in if we're going to have the best talent here, because they can live anywhere in the world now if they want to.
That's a great point. So let's focus in on one of those infrastructure pieces that you mentioned. And that's, of course, light rail transit phase 3, which really does support our collective climate, economic, and inclusivity agenda that the Board of Trade has been advancing, and makes our city more attractive to investors and talent. So one of the questions of the day, what would you do to ensure LRT is on track to being completed on budget and on time?
So this is a hugely important file, and it's one that I think has unfortunately been mishandled by the city over the last few years. As everyone knows, we've had big issues with light rail, and I think there was too much of an emphasis on delivering light rail within a certain budget, and that drove all the decision making at City Hall. And it feels, I know, to a lot of people in our community that because of that, we didn't get as good a system as we might otherwise have gotten. So going forward, we need to implement the recommendations that come out of the public inquiry that's been happening. We've got to fix phase 1, solve all of the issues. That won't be easy, but it's got to be done. We've got a light rail system now. We've got to work with it. We've got to make sure phase 2 gets built properly and that we don't repeat any of the mistakes from phase 1. And then we have to secure the funding for phase 3 so that we have light rail in Kanata, Stittsville, and Barrhaven. And obviously, that's important for the residents of those areas, but it's also important for the business community because there are a lot of important technology companies that are in Kanata and in other parts of the city. And being able to connect those companies and their employees to a world-class transit line is very important. We need to be able to connect people to the universities and to the colleges in Ottawa as well. And having all of those connected by rail would be a giant step forward for us as a community. So we've got to get this right, and it's going to take leadership to do it.
Okay. Going from one mode of transport to another, the very important airport. And of course, we all know that the airlines have been under a lot of pressure. And yet a key challenge we face in our economic recovery in this city is the low level of direct flights to the Ottawa International Airport compared to other national airports. Now, these decisions aren't made by airlines, rather, not by the city or the airport, and they're based on demand and profitability. But they really are, our current capacity really is negatively impacting our ability to attract investment and talent, as well as our visitor economy, which is a feeder really into so many other parts of our economy. So how do you intend to support the recovery of air routes to and from Ottawa and the vibrancy of our airport as a connective infrastructure?
So Megan, I'm ready to work with Ottawa Tourism and with the Ottawa International Airport. I've worked with the leaders of those organizations many times before. I know them well. I'm ready to work with them to solve whatever challenges are getting in the way. But as you pointed out, this is not something that is driven by the mayor or anyone else going to the airlines and asking, please, will you put more flights into Ottawa, more direct flights to American cities or other places. It's driven by demand. So we're going to need to create more demand in Ottawa so that the airlines have no choice but to put more flights, direct flights into the Ottawa airport. So how do we do that? We're going to need to create more economic activity, generate more tourists who come to Ottawa, more conferences and events, more people coming here to visit and do business with the federal government. We're going to need to drive a lot of activity, have big events in Ottawa. That's why I've talked about potentially creating a new annual recurring event in Ottawa and a new cultural destination in the center of the city. We need more tourists. We need more business travelers. We need more activity that's going to drive demand and give the airlines no choice but to put more direct flights into Ottawa.
Okay. from one big infrastructure piece to another one, and that's healthcare. And of course, Ottawa is not alone in experiencing tremendous strain on our primary healthcare system. And we, like all communities, need to plan for an aging and growing community. So the new campus development at the Ottawa Hospital is a state-of-the-art healthcare facility that will ensure we're all well served and well positioned to attract talent in businesses and residents seeking those amenities. So, well, I'll ask you straight up, do you plan to support the project? And if you do, what will you do to ensure its success?
Megan, I'm a longtime supporter of the Ottawa Hospital. My wife and I and our family have made donations to the hospital over the years. I've raised more than $200,000 for the Ottawa Hospital in the past with some of the charity marathon runs that I've done. So I'm a big supporter of the hospital, and I'll share with you that my wife and I have also made a contribution to the philanthropic campaign that will support the new campus. This is a game changer for Ottawa. I've written columns about it before. People think of healthcare as something that is a service to the citizens of Ottawa, which of course it is, but it's also an enormous economic driver for the city. Having a world-class hospital is essential if you want to win the talent battles, if you want to grow a strong economy, if you want the best and brightest people working in your community. So this is a huge economic opportunity as well as a healthcare opportunity for the people of Ottawa. I support the project. I will help facilitate to get it done. I will resist any attempts to revisit the decision on location. We've got to move forward and get this hospital built because it's going to be so important to the future of our city. And while we're talking about healthcare, I'll just mention two other quick things because I'm the only candidate talking about these issues. Number one, I will embark upon a strategy to attract more family doctors to Ottawa. Other communities have done this. I know it's a provincial responsibility, but this is an issue on which the mayor of Ottawa needs to show leadership. A lot of people, when I've been knocking on doors, have brought up they're struggling to find a family doctor. So we need to have a strategy to attract more family physicians to Ottawa. And I will hire more paramedics because we keep ending up at level 0 in Ottawa multiple times per day. We're at level 0 where there are no ambulances available in the city of Ottawa, and that's just not acceptable. So healthcare is a huge priority for me, and I support the new Civic Campus.
Great, thank you for that. Let's move to another really hotly discussed topic in this election campaign, and that's housing. So let's start first with access to reasonable market-priced housing, which is really a key driver for growth, investment, and talent attraction. What is your plan to increase the inventory of that housing and generate a positive impact on the price of homes?
This is, as well, a really important question. There are so many important questions, and you're asking a lot of them, Megan. In the next 25 years, we're expecting the population of Ottawa to grow by 500,000 people. That is an enormous opportunity for our city. We're going to grow by 50% in the next quarter of a century. It's really exciting. It means that we're going to have lots more vibrancy in Ottawa, many more talented people here. But we need somewhere to put all those people, obviously. We need to make sure we have somewhere for them to live, and we need those homes to be affordable. So I have a plan to build 100,000 new homes over the next 10 years in Ottawa, 10,000 per year, including 1,000 affordable homes per year, a total of 10,000 over the next 10 years. We need to build more affordable and supportive housing for the most vulnerable, and we need to build more housing in general just so that everyone has a place to live in Ottawa. Otherwise, what we're going to see is two things. People are going to get jobs in Ottawa, but they're going to work virtually from some other community, or they're going to move to places like Rockland and Kemptville and Arnprior outside the boundaries of Ottawa, and they're going to contribute to sprawl, and they're going to drive into the city every day. It's not good for the environment, and it's not good for the property tax base in Ottawa, because those are people who would be using city services within Ottawa but wouldn't be paying for them through their taxes. So we need to get this right. We need to build a lot more homes in Ottawa over the next 10 years.
Okay, so let's move to the other side of the housing issue as well. And as cost of living pressures continue to rise, They're contributing to the growing number of families that require social support and an urgent access to affordable housing. What would you do to address this issue?
Within 30 days of taking office, I would strike a task force that would bring together leaders from across the community, including public health, the emergency responders, the social service agencies that serve the most vulnerable in our community. And I would address this. So it breaks my heart when I see the challenges that so many people in our community are facing. These are issues that I've worked on as a volunteer for more than 25 years with the Royal Ottawa Hospital, United Way, the Ottawa Food Bank, and other organizations. So I care very deeply about this issue. I've also talked about investing more money in the agencies that help the most vulnerable in our community. So we need to do that as well. We need a different response to mental illness calls. Right now, we're sending police officers to calls where maybe we could send a different resource. So that's another opportunity. There's a lot we need to do here. I've mentioned already building more supportive housing. We need a strategy in the city, and that's why I want to bring people together, as I've done throughout my career, bring the best people together and figure out a solution that everyone can line up with and get the whole community working together to address these challenges.
Okay, so the flip side of these services is, of course, the taxes we collect, and we know that these same cost of living pressures also make us very sensitive to the taxes we pay. So we'd like you to speak to whether you'd commit to a moderate and preset tax increase to help businesses and investors address their rising costs and inspire business confidence, innovation, and predictability.
I'm going to talk about my plan, and I'm also going to take the opportunity to talk about Catherine McKenney's plan, because I think this is a real point of contrast between the two of us. We're the two main candidates to be the next mayor of Ottawa. I think based on the polls that we've seen so far, there are really only two people who could be the next mayor of Ottawa, myself and Catherine McKenney. And so first, I'll talk about my plan. I will commit in the first 2 years to tax increases of 2 to 2.5%. That's less than what we've seen for the past 4 years. So they are, given the rate of inflation right now, moderate tax increases to give people certainty about what to expect in the city budget going forward. I am also committing, for the first time in 20 years, to a line-by-line review of spending at the City of Ottawa, to go through the budget line by line on a strategic basis to make sure that we are investing every dollar wisely on behalf of taxpayers. There is room at City Hall to find some efficiencies. I will not cut any programs or services at the city, but I will look at things like the travel budget or some of the other expenses that are incurred by city staff and city councilors. I will look for areas where we can save a bit of money to reinvest that money into other priorities like public safety, fixing the roads, public transit, that sort of thing. That's my fiscally responsible and compassionate financial plan for the City of Ottawa. Catherine McKenney has an entirely different approach, which I want to highlight for the business owners who are watching right now. Catherine McKenney is talking about raiding our reserves, depleting our reserves, taking $90 million out of our savings account that's supposed to be there for emergencies, and spending it on things that are not the priorities of the majority of Ottawa residents. Catherine McKenney is also talking about borrowing $250 million to build bicycle lanes across the city of Ottawa. Again, not a priority for the people of Ottawa. Catherine McKenney is talking about larger tax increases, and when the people on my team have looked at their budget, the tax increases could be much higher than what Catherine McKenney is forecasting right now. And Catherine McKenney has voted against 4 years in a row in the previous term of council, keeping tax increases to 3% or less. Catherine voted against that, not once, not twice, but 4 times out of 4 years in the last term of council. So I think we have a very clear choice here between responsible financial management and a plan that is going to include reckless spending and putting the city's finances at risk over the next 4 years.
Okay, thanks for that. Let's move to the heart of our community, small businesses. And they really do drive our community, our culture, and our economy. And they were really disproportionately impacted through the pandemic. how would you build confidence, resiliency, and support for these businesses, particularly those in the hardest hit sectors, and also for those diverse business owners that have been unrepresented often in the past? Women-owned businesses, Indigenous-owned businesses, racialized entrepreneurs, people with disabilities, and those who are part of our LGBTQ2S plus community.
Great question. And I'll start by saying I am a small business owner. I started my first business when I was 18 years old. I've been an entrepreneur ever since then. So I know what it's like to own a small business, and I will always have the back of small business owners in our community. They drive our economy. They're great people. I just went on a tour of some small businesses in the Byward Market today, and then I went and visited some small business owners in the Glebe as well. So I care about small business owners, and I've mentored and supported a lot of them as an advisor. And in particular, Megan, I'm glad you brought up the members of the Indigenous community and women and other typically disadvantaged people who are small business owners in our community, because I have, as a mentor, explicitly sought out to mentor some of those people as business owners. I've mentored a lot of women who own businesses. I've mentored a lot of members of racialized communities who own businesses, and that's been a priority for me. So I care about their chances of success. I think it's a huge opportunity. If we empower people and we don't limit them in any way, and they launch businesses, they will contribute so much to our community and our economy. So it's a huge opportunity as far as I'm concerned. So what am I going to do? I'm going to continue the targeted tax relief for some small businesses by renewing the special small business commercial property tax measures that have been put in place. I'm going to make it easier to do business with the city. We're going to create a one-stop shop that will cut through the red tape and all of the bureaucracy at City Hall so that you're going to one window to get service as a business owner. There are a bunch of things that I'm going to do for shop owners and restaurant owners as well, like continuing the reduced patio fees for restaurants that have allowed them to expand their operations into the sidewalk area and that sort of thing. And I'm going to be a champion for small business owners. I'm going to be a champion for the local economy, as I have been throughout my career as someone who's worked in economic development and worked with small business. So if I'm elected mayor, small business owners will know that they can count on me to work with them.
Okay, you mentioned visiting some small businesses, so let's stay in the downtown core then for this next question. And of course, the decreased travel internationally and the slowest return to office apparently in the country
Yep.
has really caused local business closures and services to be reduced in the downtown core after these really challenging couple years. And that's negatively impacting our visitor and resident experiences, of course. And the downtown is really the heart of our community, and it's a key attractor for our visitor economy. So it's really being felt across our whole city. So how will you support the increased vibrancy of our downtown core?
Number of measures on this, Megan. So I agree with you. We need to have a strong downtown to have a strong city and a strong economy. And we need more people downtown. So first of all, I'm not going to do anything to discourage people from going downtown. There are people who have talked about congestion pricing and about higher parking fees. I'm not interested in doing any of that. I will fight against it. What I will do is undertake measures to bring more people to downtown Ottawa. We need to have more people living and working in downtown Ottawa. There are opportunities to build more housing in downtown Ottawa, particularly if there will be fewer people working downtown going forward. I think that's an exciting opportunity to make the downtown into something more than it is today. We need to attract more people who come downtown to be entertained. So we need another cultural attraction downtown. I've talked about that as part of my economic development plan. We need more tourists to come to Ottawa. So I will work with Ottawa Tourism and with the convention center and with other leaders in the community to bring more tourists to Ottawa. There's an opportunity, I think, to create another recurring event in Ottawa. There are so many events we bring to Ottawa, and it's great when we attract something like the Juno Awards or the Grey Cup, but that happens once and then it's over. Same thing with the 2017 celebrations. That was fantastic. But when it was over, it was over. Whereas if we could attract a recurring event, something like the Toronto International Film Festival, something like South by Southwest, If we had an annual event in Ottawa that was bringing people from all over the world, that would be a huge opportunity, and it would happen every single year. So I think we need to get everybody working together on an idea like that. There's so much we need to do with downtown Ottawa. There, I could keep going. We could talk about security. We could talk about the parliamentary precinct. But I have a plan that will bring more people to downtown Ottawa and the Byward Market, that will restore confidence, so that people feel comfortable and safe when they come to those places. They want to go there. There's something to do when they get there. And I won't do anything that will discourage people from going downtown.
Okay, so let's walk down past the Parliament buildings to the Byward Market then, since you raised it. And let's talk about increasing crime rate in the area, visitors reporting perceptions, at least, of a lack of safety and cleanliness in the Byward Market neighborhood. This really does have a negative impact on Ottawa's brand reputation worldwide, and maybe influencing decisions about some of these events and meetings that you're mentioning. What are your plans to address the issues of homelessness, mental health, addictions, safety and security in this area? And how urgent of a priority would it be for you?
It's a very urgent priority, and that's why I've talked about striking a task force within 30 days. And first and foremost, most importantly, we have to look after the most vulnerable in our community. There are people suffering from trauma, from mental illness, from substance use disorder, people who are homeless, who are in the Byward Market and elsewhere. And we need to put in place a strategy to support those people and help them build better lives. It's not going to be easy, but we need to get started on it. We need more supportive housing. We need more resources in the social services agencies. That's why I've committed to investing more money in some of those agencies, so the city will be a partner in building the housing we need and providing the services we need to support those vulnerable individuals. We need people to feel more confident about going to the Byward Market. As I mentioned, Megan, today I met with several small business owners in the Byward Market, and they haven't given up hope. They still dream of a better Byward Market in the future, but they identified a number of problems, including concerns their staff have about working late at night in the Byward Market. We need to create more confidence. So I've talked about having a community resource center in the Byward Market that would include the police, Ottawa Public Health, some of the social service providers and other agencies, to allow for faster response to some of the issues that crop up in the Byward Market, and give people more of a feeling of confidence so that they're attracted to the Byward Market, that it's once again a destination like it used to be in our city, and maybe even better than it was before. We need more attractions and events. I've talked about making Ottawa a music city and having more music events in the city. Maybe the Byward Market is a potential destination for some of that activity. So we need a coordinated, comprehensive approach to resolving the issues in the Byward Market, giving people a reason to go there, and building that confidence that it's a safe and exciting place to visit. And then more people will come. And once more people start coming, then more people will want to be there because other people are going. So we need to start that virtuous circle of creating a feeling of safety, and then more people will come, which will lead to increased kind of excitement and more people coming after that.
Okay, I'm going to take a step back and go to a sort of high level, big picture question, which was really important in a lot of our consultations with our community about what City Hall was going to look like for the coming year, years after some really substantial changes to the faces around the table. And it's clear that our city requires a whole community approach to build an affordable, inclusive, and sustainable future, and that the sentiment is really that needs to begin at City Hall. So how will you lead to build a progressive culture at City Hall, engage economic partners, of course, Ottawa Board of Trade being one of them, and other levels of government, importantly, to ensure that Ottawa can compete in the global market?
I'm going to do what I've always done, Megan, which is get people working together. I've done this throughout my entire career as a small business owner, as a leader in other organizations, as the chair of the board of a number of community organizations in Ottawa, including the Ottawa Board of Trade, including United Way. I'm going to get people working together and build consensus. You've heard me say it already many times. My first job on any file is going to be to bring the right people together and start talking about the solutions. It's not going to be one person's idea. It's not going to be the mayor who just always has the answer to the questions. It's going to be a leadership role that the mayor should play in bringing the best people together to solve problems. I'm ready to work with everyone on city council, wherever they're elected in the city, everyone throughout the community, people in the business community, people in the not-for-profit sector, the arts community, the social services sector. I'm going to get everyone working together. This is the main reason that I'm running for this job, Megan. I was frustrated with how polarizing politics has become in our city, how much infighting there is, pitting one part of the city against another, pitting one group of people against another, the kind of infighting that we've seen on city council in the last few years. It bothered me as a resident of Ottawa. So I don't want to see that continue. I want to get everybody working together productively with consensus, with collaboration to get things done, because we all want a better city for everyone. That's what I want to deliver, is the consensus that will help us achieve that.
Okay, let's go with one. Our final question here is also a little high level, and really goes to the fact that responsible city building requires future thinking and long-term investments. But on the other side of it, governments are challenged by short election cycles and external significant global pressures, some of which, of course, we've seen over the last couple of years, as well as strong public opinions and wavering trust. So how will you focus on garnering support for priorities that are vital to our future, but may not be realized in the short term, or certainly in the next term of council?
It's a great question. And in the work that I did as an advisor and mentor and coach to business owners in Ottawa, I would often ask my clients, what's your 100-year plan? Because I think you need to think long-term, even if you're running a small business. I think you need to think long-term, no matter what kind of enterprise you're leading. That's leadership. So of course, there are pressures in the next quarter, in the next 6 months, in the next year, in the next 4 years. But my approach to leadership is to think long-term. And my goal in being the mayor of Ottawa is not to use it as a stepping stone to some other opportunity. I'm coming in to serve my community, to do what's best for the city and for the people of Ottawa, so that we have a better city for the next 50 to 100 years, not so that we solve a bunch of problems in the next 4 years and I can get reelected. I'm actually not trying to build a political career here. I'm trying to build a better city. This is probably the only job I'll ever run for in politics. So I just want to come in and serve my community and put us on the path towards greatness. We have a huge opportunity. We have so much going for us. We have so much potential. If we make the right decisions in the next 4 or 5 years, we can set Ottawa on a path towards greatness. Greatness in so many ways. A world-class tourist destination, a place that has so many wonderful things to do, a city where there are great neighborhoods, where people feel comfortable living. They can get around easily. They love the community they live in. They can go to the shops. They can travel by public transit, by bike or by car. They can walk places. We have so much potential if we get it right in the next few years. That will set the stage for Ottawa for the next 50 to 100 years. That's the kind of leadership I want to bring to this role, not to be focused on political considerations, but to be focused on what's best for the people of Ottawa, for your children and your grandchildren.
That is wonderful. Thank you for going through our lengthy list of questions and sharing all those thoughts with probably our Board of Trade members, but I suspect beyond that, to the residents of Ottawa. And we, as a Board of Trade, of course, are really looking forward to working with the next City Council, the entire city's worth of City Council. And we're thrilled that we can have worked to tell the community, the people that are running, what the business community's priorities have been over the last few months, and we're wishing you all the best in the final week of the campaign. I'm going to let you say any last final thoughts you have about the campaign.
Absolutely. And look, I think the voters of Ottawa, including business owners and members of the Board of Trade, have a very clear choice right now between two different visions for the future of Ottawa. Catherine McKenney wants to build $250 million worth of bicycle lanes in the next 4 years. wants more free public transit. And as I've said many times, there is no free public transit. We're simply transferring the cost to taxpayers and making taxes go up even further. Catherine McKenney has a reckless financial plan, spending $650 million in new spending, borrowed money that's going to be taken from our emergency reserves. It's going to put the city's financial position at risk in a very short period of time. I think voters of Ottawa should ask themselves, and especially members of the business community and the Board of Trade, ask yourself, who do you think understands what it's like to run a small business? Who's going to have a financial plan that will protect the city's financial strength? Who do you think will keep taxes as low as possible for you, for your business, for your family? Who do you think will work hard to find savings at City Hall to protect the investments we need to make in our growth, in infrastructure, in protecting the most vulnerable in our community? That's my track record. I will go to bat for you as small business owners. I will always be ready to meet with the Board of Trade to talk about what's best for our economy going forward, because that's what I've always done. That's what I've been doing for the last 30 years as a member of this community. So you can count on me as a business owner, as a member of the Board of Trade, as a member of the community, to be thinking of you every day when I go to work as your mayor. I will not put our finances in jeopardy. I will not raise your taxes. I will not make life more expensive. I will make life more affordable in Ottawa. That's my goal as your mayor. So please do vote. It's really important that you get out and vote, and I hope I can count on your support.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark, for joining us.
Thank you, Megan.